Welcome to the Dad and Cole Football Patrol.
That's right. What's up, guys? I'm Dad.
And I am Cole.
So, Cole, this is our first episode of the 2019 NFL offseason.
Yay.
So what are we going to talk about today?
The biggest free agents.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the moves within the league that's happened over the past month or so. We're not going to get too caught up in whether it was a trade or an actual free agency signing.
They're going to be both.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about the moves, right? And who we think maybe won, who maybe lost out, and what are some of the bigger moves. What position should we start with?
Quarterback. Foles, Flacco, and Keenum were the three biggest, who I don't think were really big at all.
All right, so you're already kind of tipping your hand of how you feel about these. So let's, real quick, Foles to the Jaguars. Nick Foles, our beloved Nick Foles. Yeah, we're sad to see him go, but happy he's going to get a chance to start. So Foles to the Jaguars, Flacco to the Broncos, Keenum to the Redskins. Case Keenum to the Redskins. Cole, I'll ask you, out of those three quarterback moves, which player is going to have the biggest positive impact on their new team?
I don't think any of them are. But
Ooh, okay.
Foles, he was good with the Eagles, but since he's going to a new team, I think he won't be good with the Jaguars.
Well,
because they don't have dynamic wide receivers.
Well, yeah, I think you're making probably the point that a lot of people across the league are wondering, and is that how is Foles going to look out of Philadelphia, out of that system, different roster, different players? So you think he might struggle a little bit down in Jacksonville? Now, how about Flacco, the steady veteran, going to a new team out in Denver? We saw Manning have a second act with Denver and win a Super Bowl. Do you see any potential playoff runs for Flacco and the Broncos?
No, because he just got injured at the end of the season.
Okay, now I think, though, he was healthy enough to potentially play at the end there, but I think the Ravens had just made their minds up that they're returning their page to the future. Let me say this to you, Cole. I think out of those three guys, I don't think what I'm about to say is the best out of the three of them, but I actually think Case Keenum has the potential to make the biggest impact. Hear me out. The Redskins are in dire need of some quarterback play there. I thought Smith...
Draft Dwayne Haskins. Draft anyone.
Well, no. Listen, I agree with you. They're going to have to draft a quarterback, but I think just for the start of the season and for the sake of getting some sort of assemblage of a veteran presence there, I think he has the potential to make the biggest impact. Hear me out. I think the Broncos have a good defense. They have a solid foundation there. So
Von Miller, Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, I don't think Flacco needs to go there and be a world beater for them to get back into the mix for the playoffs. And then for Foles, I kind of think the same thing. Foles just needs to go down there and kind of be a steady veteran presence. I think they can lean on Fournette and potentially be in the mix of a better up-and-coming team again. But I think the team that most desperately needs quarterback play would be the Redskins.
Draft Dwayne Haskins. Draft anyone.
All right, Redskins, listen to GM Cole here. Go get Haskins.
General manager. So now we're going to talk about the running backs.
Yeah, so there was a handful of running backs that are on new teams. So we're going to highlight just the ones we're most intrigued by. So Le'Veon Bell to the Jets, Mark Ingram to the Ravens, Tevin Coleman to the 49ers. And then lastly, Carlos Hyde made his way over to the Chiefs. Now, Cole, I think it's probably obvious who you think is going to make the biggest impact, but I'll just go ahead, have at it. Who's going to make the biggest impact?
Obviously, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, though. Does it concern you at all, an entire year away from football, that there's going to be rust? Or do you think as a running back, maybe that saved some reps and actually allowed him to refresh and recover from those heavy workloads he had in Pittsburgh? What say you?
And they had the Steelers, the wide receivers. They had Antonio Brown, but now he's gone. And so is Bell. And also, since the Jets have since they don't have good wide receivers, now that they have a good running back, they're going to give it to Bell a ton.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the game plan clearly is going to be to lean heavily on Bell, take some pressure off of Darnold. I will take umbrage a little bit. I think Robbie Anderson's kind of a good, explosive, up-and-coming receiver. But to your point, the talent isn't stacked there, so they need a guy like Bell. I'm curious. Let me ask you this. If you have the first pick in the fantasy draft of your team this coming summer, are you taking Bell with the first pick? Putting Bell aside, I'm intrigued here by Coleman heading out to the West Coast, being reunited with Shanahan, who clearly knows how to design a run game. And then also Ingram bringing his power running attack to the Ravens, getting behind Lamar Jackson.
But I thought you loved Carlos Hyde.
Well, I do like Carlos Hyde, but he was very underwhelming last year, especially when he went down to Jacksonville. His first few games with Cleveland started off strong, but they clearly wanted to get their high pick, Nick Chubb, in the mix. Right. I mean, do you think Hyde has anything?
He was a second-round pick.
Yeah, I know, but for a running back, I think anything 4 or higher in rounds is kind of a big commitment to a guy. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think Reed and that offense can kind of reignite Carlos Hyde?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know.
All right, Cole, so maybe the position with the biggest names that moved around was wide receiver. Who are we talking about, bud?
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, so
and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, and then also I'll throw in our hometown guy, D-Jax. D-Jackson's clearly not amongst the caliber of those guys. So let's talk about Antonio Brown of the Raiders, Odell Beckham to the Browns, Deshaun Jackson to the Eagles. Out of those guys, who's going to make the biggest impact?
Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I agree. So what are your thoughts? So why do you think Beckham's going to make the biggest splash?
Because he's younger than Brown.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Brown, he might splash because he's older. And
you're saying he might disappoint, you think, a little bit because he's older? Okay. And then what else do you like about Beckham going to the Browns?
That Baker Mayfield, he'll have a ton of talent around him. And also he gets to be with Jarvis Landry again from college. Yeah,
I think that's a really neat thing. The former LSU college wide receivers. I think as far as trying to manage Beckham the person, I think it's great he's going to be reunited with Landry. There's a ton of talent there. Njoku, we already talked about. Nick Chubb in the backfield.
Last year.
Yeah, that's right. Njoku was a sleeper, and I think he earned up to that billing. But I think Beckham could potentially just go bonkers with Mayfield. There's a lot of potential there. And I think to your point,
bring back the college years.
Harken back to the college days. That's right. And I think to your point, Brown is a little bit older. I still think he has explosiveness left in him.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about what he has on the other side of him. I don't know.
Go get your car. Get some gasoline for your own self.
I just don't know that there's enough around Brown to really be the guy he was in Pittsburgh. But I'm going to be very curious to see what happens there with the Raiders.
Because also, he had a better quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger.
Absolutely.
And Derek Carr is not that good.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really make-or-break season for Derek Carr. He's either got to step up and put up, or I think they're going to be looking to make a move at that position.
Wait, maybe with they have one of the top picks, so they could draft Kyler Murray.
Well, I think the Raiders could be looking to pull a quarterback. I don't know if they would look to use their top pick on it. I think they're still
draft my man Will Grier.
Yeah, I think they're still vested in Derek Carr. But to your point, they could definitely take a flyer on a guy. So be curious to see how new GM Mike Mayock, a Philly guy, approaches the draft for the Raiders. All right, Cole, let's move to the other side of the ball now. There's, for the defensive line, just one guy we're going to call out, and that was Michael Bennett exiting Philadelphia, making his way to New England.
Wait, so the Patriots, they got a payback since the Eagles beat them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you think they're... So that's kind of leading me to my question to you. Who do you think makes out here more? Is it a bigger miss for Philly, or not that big deal, it'll be fine? Or for New England, was that a steal and a bargain? You see him going there and doing big things.
It's not that big of a deal because with Philly, he wasn't really that good.
Yeah, I thought he came on, especially near the end of the season. He did get some quarterback carries and sacks. My concern about him, he didn't seem content or happy to be here, especially in the rotation that the Eagles like. So I think maybe they saved themselves a potential headache for next year. All right, Cole, so let's take a look at the linebacker position, my personal favorite position on the defense. Pardon me, gang, I'm going to read off this list real quick.
Hey, a D-back.
Yeah, you are a D-back guy, I know that. So we're talking about Cole Kwan Alexander, the 49ers, T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs over to the Cardinals, Clay Matthews, a Ram, that's interesting, and then C.J. Mosley over to the Jets. Out of those guys, who's going to make the biggest impact?
I forget every name because that's so long.
Let me give you, that is a lot of guys. Let me give you a moment to think about this.
Oh, Terrell Suggs.
So you think T-Zizzle and Arizona is going to make the biggest impact? Why is that?
Crush the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he is a preeminent pass guy. I worry, though, does he have enough left in the tank? Is this like a final stop kind of?
So same like with Antonio Brown, go get some gas.
And along those same lines, I don't know about Clay Matthews and how much he has left. He's joining a very talented roster, but I don't know the kind of impact that he's available.
I'm a sleeper for that position.
What do you got?
Kwan Alexander.
Yeah, you like him coming over from the Bucs, right? And that's definitely a team that needs an infusion of talent. So we'll keep an eye out to see if your prediction on that one's right.
Whee! Now we're talking about my favorite position.
Yeah, you are a D-back guy. You've always been. So who are two big names that change teams within that position?
The Honey Badger and Landon Collins.
Yeah, I thought Tyrann Mathieu had a very solid year for the Texans last year. So he goes off to the Chiefs, a team that's clearly in contention. Then you got Landon Collins, a guy I actually would have liked to have seen the Eagles go after. He joins the Redskins.
They could draft Nasir Adderley.
All right, well, let's stick to the two veterans. Who do you think makes the biggest impact on their new team?
Ty.
You think the Honey Badger goes into the Chiefs? Yeah, I mean, look, is Eric Berry still with them? Did they lose him in the offseason? I'm not sure.
He is kicked out of the roster.
He's not there anymore. Plus, he's been hurt a lot. Eric Berry, a real good stand-up guy. Hopefully, with the help.
I liked him.
Yeah, hopefully with all the health things, he's kind of getting beyond that. But I think Matthew can be a playmaking, steady presence. I agree. But I like Collins coming over for the Giants for the Redskins. I think he's a real solid player. We'll see who makes the biggest impact out of the D-backs.
Please comment who will make the biggest impact. And if we didn't mention someone, just tell us.
Oh, yeah, good call, Cole. Please do leave a comment. Which guy's going to make the biggest impact for their new team? And who do we miss out? Who we leave out of the list? Leave a comment with that as well. What else, buddy?
Please subscribe.
Yeah, we'd be honored and grateful if you could hit the red subscribe button. We're getting started with our 2019 off-season content. We're going to be picking up steam as we get closer to the activities and the training camp in summer.
Draft.
Yeah, but, oh my gosh, how could I forget the draft? Yeah, we're going to do the Cole Draft Special coming up too. So the bottom line is, guys, hit subscribe, stay up to date with all our episodes, and what else, Bubba?
See ya.
Yeah, we'll see you later.